I'm Lindsay, this is Kylie, we're Or Paranormal, and this is Legends and Libations. Today we are talking about the Mena Poltergeist.
Yes. Do you know anything about this story?
No.
Okay. Well,
there's nothing in Mena.
There's nothing in Mena except this poltergeist, and it's a fascinating story. Just for a little context, December 1961 in Mena, Arkansas, which is in Polk County, there were all of these crazy reports of a family being terrorized by a poltergeist. This is the best known poltergeist story in Arkansas, and it's one that is actually still a mystery today.
I love that.
So our libation that we have, we wanted to kind of play with the idea of Polk County being a dry county. So we have a blueberry lemonade, but it's made with blueberry moonshine. So we will show the recipe here for you. And this one's actually pretty good, and it's cute.
Yes, it's very pretty. We like the pretty drinks.
Yes. Yes.
The prettier, the tastier. Most, no, not true.
Sometimes.
That's really fucking good. Super easy to drink.
Yeah.
I'm outside, I'm by the lake.
Especially for
By the river.
moonshine. Usually moonshine is a hard pass.
He makes it very nice. I really like that mint.
Yeah.
It's like I get a very weird undertone of it that I love.
Yeah.
Ooh, I feel it down
Good.
my tummy's all minty feeling.
Oh, good. Yeah, so it is mint and blueberries muddled with the blueberry moonshine. You shake it up with ice, pour it into your glass with ice. Yes.
Pretty.
Pour lemonade over top of that, and then I did make a blueberry simple syrup that I put on top, and it sunk to the bottom, so it's really cute. This is a really good, refreshing drink.
It really is.
Great for summer.
Which hopefully we're at the end of.
Yes, I'm over it. So we are in Mena, Arkansas, and it's the early 1960s. We have...
House
Yes.
No one taking care of it.
We have the Shin family, and they live on a farm just outside of Mena. It's 70-year-old Ed Shin, his wife Birdie, who is 70, and their grandson Charles. The farmhouse was pretty small. It was only 5 rooms, and it was located about 5 miles down Ransom Road, just outside of Mena. So the Shins had lived here for about 15 years, but were in the Mena area community for more than 40 years before they moved to the farm. They were well known and well liked in the community, and that's part of the reason that the events that they would later describe were so concerning to locals, because they knew the Shin family.
They were reputable people.
Yeah, they were reputable. They were believed. So, strange events at the Shin farmhouse were first reported on December 2nd, 1961, but they actually began over a year before that. The Shins didn't want to report this activity for a while because, as Ed Shin, who's the grandpa, said, they were, quote, afraid that people would think they're crazy. And as we know,
that's what everyone's fear is.
Yeah. That's super common anytime you have unexplained or paranormal.
I just walk around acting like I'm crazy because I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, we're just crazy generally, so it wouldn't be weird if we described these things. So the first experience occurred just after midnight one evening. That night, Ed and Birdie, they were in their bed when suddenly the windows started rattling and shaking. Obviously, that was kind of weird. So, maybe. Ed gets out of bed. He is like, okay, I'm going to go see what this rattling situation is all about. But he couldn't find any explanation, and he ended up just going back to bed. The noises like that started happening pretty regularly, every few nights, and they were increasingly intense. So...
That would be concerning.
Yeah.
I mean, I was hearing noises in my camera and watching the inside of my house the other day, and I'm like, that's kind of strange.
That's concerning.
Exactly.
So other things kind of started happening. They described noises like someone knocking on the wall, like they were trying to come into the house or come through the wall. Sometimes the noises were even weirder. One particular noise that they described sounded like someone using a hand saw in the attic above their room.
Like people hear chains in the attic. Someone's hearing a freaking handsaw. And that's a really distinct sound too. I mean, like,
yeah,
you know what a handsaw sounds like.
Super, super weird. So one night the noises were so bad that the couple couldn't go to sleep, and Birdie actually was so frustrated she asked the noises politely to please stop, and terrifyingly got a response.
What, like they stopped, or they're like, no?
Yeah.
Oh.
So a entity that they could not see replied to Birdie and said, "I don't sleep." And somehow it seems like she remained calm enough to be like, "Will you please let me sleep?" And the ghost responded that you don't need sleep either. So it's a little bit sassy, a little rude.
Down my alley.
And these noises were obviously really frightening to them, but despite how scared they were, they decided not to report this to anybody.
Well, I would say the first bits of things happening, I wouldn't know I wouldn't know. Like, know to report it, or be like, I don't think I should. Maybe it's just me.
Is it wind? Is it old farmhouse sounds?
No, yeah.
Are we all going
Rats?
crazy? Yeah, I mean, there's lots of, as we know, there's lots of normal explanations for weird noises in a house. So take that on top of you don't want to be the crazy people
in town.
I get it.
In Mena.
Yeah. So if the scary entity talking to them wasn't enough, the activity actually ended up getting worse in late November. So now, instead of just hearing weird noises, stuff in their house actually started moving. And at one point, Ed found his grandson, Charles. He had marbles, because what else do you do in the 60s except play with marbles, I guess, all over the floor. He picked him up, put him back where they were supposed to be, and went on to do whatever he was doing. And just a few minutes later, they were back all over the floor. So, you know, that one, who knows? Maybe they just kind of roll back. It's unclear what...
Was it Charles that was a kid?
Yeah.
Kids don't... They think they do things that they don't do. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Or that they'll think they did something that they didn't do at all.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying right now.
Yeah, so that one's kind of weird. Not totally scary paranormal, though.
Enough for you to be like...
That's weird. Like, I thought I picked those up, maybe not. Charles started experiencing strange things too. He said that, and he's the boy, he said that one night he's laying in bed and his covers get ripped off.
Yeah, don't like that. Can't explain that.
And so at this point, everybody in the family had experienced this unseen force in some way. They didn't know what to make of these experiences and decided to keep it to themselves for a really long time. But the events eventually became public after Ed went to the local butcher. His name was Alvin.
Damn it, Alvin.
Accidentally let it slip that some weird stuff was going down.
But then Alvin obviously opened his bat trap.
Yeah. He actually told reporters, Alvin said, "I guess I must have started it all. When Ed told me about those things floating around, I got worried and sent a neighbor out to check on them."
They're gonna think it's a fucking devil.
So the whole community knows about this.
Great,
and
Alvin.
Everybody started to gossip about the house and the family. And as gossip goes, these stories are circulating and it gets more crazy and...
As it gets spread.
Yeah, and cuckoo. So it goes
Operator.
from just weird noises and, you know, maybe some stuff moving around to one person saying that they saw the family's mailbox spinning around on its post.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah, sure.
Super strange. And then another person said that they actually saw like a coal or ash bucket floating around outside the house. And if I'm hearing these things in the 60s, I'm not going anywhere near the Shin farm. But, you know, since you don't have a whole lot of stuff going on,
right, especially out there,
it became a tourist destination. So, like the White River Monster,
start fucking putting up a booth.
People are
Sign.
They want to see it.
Money jar.
They want to see it. So from across the region, people actually started making pilgrimages to the Shin family house. So after dealing with not only paranormal experiences for over a year, they now had to deal with trespassers and looky-loos coming by their house.
How big their farm was?
No. I don't know, like, acreage how large, but their house was only 5 rooms.
Okay.
So it sounds like a pretty small little farmhouse. Some reports claimed that hundreds of people came to the farm and would go in the outbuildings and the barn and even try to get in the house without permission.
Oh my God, I'd be so pissed off.
Oh, yeah. According to a account that Ed Shin gave to a newspaper in December of 1961, he said, the other night 10 people barged into our house and went through it without saying a word. So not even like, hey there.
Excuse me.
Yeah, want to look at your house. Just walking through, looking around. And he said, you can see why we would be upset.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't, I know. Francine is upset. I'm upset.
I'm upset.
So eventually the police had to come and tell people to fuck off. And I guess they kind of did. Because we don't hear about that.
Like, you need to have a cop outside my door.
Yeah, stay here and keep the people away. So the activity continues. And eventually the Shin family decided that, okay, this is enough. We're going to go stay with relatives somewhere else, see if this calms down. And while they were away, the Polk County Sheriff named Bruce Scoggin and 3 of his deputies, along with 4 local reporters, went to the house to spend the night and see if they could figure out what's going on.
Well, that's fun.
So they're doing their own little investigation. And one of the deputies, named John Egger, told a newspaper, quote, "There's no doubt queer things have been going on around here. I can't explain it. Of course, no one believes in ghosts. I've got to where just nothing surprises me anymore." And I'm like, okay, well, can't we believe in ghosts then
if nothing surprises you?
Yeah, no. He's not buying the ghosts. So they're there all through the night. The sheriff and his deputies stay up waiting for furniture to move around, crazy stuff to happen, scary noises. And as the morning comes, they are kind of annoyed because absolutely nothing happened.
When you want it to happen, it sure don't.
Yeah. So nothing happened. But even though nothing happened when the officers and reporters were there were other people who witnessed the events at the Shin farmhouse. A lady who was a daughter-in-law of the Shin family, which, you know, is a little suspect because they're related. But she said that she saw ears of corn flying through the air at her one afternoon when she was visiting the house.
Like inside the house?
Yeah.
Horrifying.
And then
she got corned.
And then Mrs. Shin, the grandmother, her brother was visiting one day and said that he saw a can of dog food and a pencil just hovering in midair. So that's kind of weird. A neighbor also said that he saw a box of matches float into the air and across the room, and claimed that he spoke to a university professor about what was going on, and the professor suggested that all of this might be happening because of uranium that was in the ground that was seeping into their well water, and they were maybe drinking it. I don't know. It's unclear like what he was implying, if it was like
you're drinking poison
and they're just like losing their minds.
Yeah. I mean, which
sure,
I could believe it back then. I could believe it now.
Yeah, so I don't know. I don't know if they ever tested the wells for uranium or if it was just a idea, but it's a good idea. I like that idea.
I don't know. They need to figure that shit out. Mm-hmm. But like also like the magnetic fields and the Madrid fault and stuff like that. Yeah, because that's
right there. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's relatively close in the same region as like the Gurdon Light.
I like that mint, almost like I love basil mint.
It's good.
It smells so good.
So we have one theory, though. I'm not buying it. So even after this all becomes public, stuff is still happening. Biscuits are hurtling into the living room from the kitchen. Figurines.
Not the biscuits.
I know. I would be devastated.
Yeah.
Little figurines and dolls are flying off of shelves and hitting people. The marbles are back, being scattered all over the floor.
Their marbles everywhere.
They are losing their marbles. They are going absolutely insane.
Lead paint.
So, well, for sure. You know, lead paint's all up in there. Eventually, this leaves just the Mena community and becomes kind of national. People across the country are hearing about this. And the parapsychology lab at Duke University actually kind of gave their opinion on the events that were happening in Mena. They said that they were similar to other events they had studied around the world, and in their opinion, it seemed that this was a poltergeist. I mean, we know what a poltergeist is.
Yeah. But
according to Harper's Encyclopedia, which is something that I use as a reference text for paranormal things, a poltergeist is a spirit, usually mischievous and sometimes malevolent, which manifests by making noises, moving objects, and assaulting people and animals. Poltergeist comes from German words, which essentially means knocking ghosts or spirits or noisy ghosts.
So I'm saying German when I say poltergeist?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, the Geist, like, totally.
Yeah. I can't speak German on shit.
No. Well, we can speak poltergeist.
We can speak poltergeist.
So, obviously, a lot of people know about the movie Poltergeist. I just watched a movie last night for research called An American Haunting, which is also about a poltergeist. And there are some common explanations for poltergeist in the paranormal field. Obviously, that it's just another type of like spirit activity where spirit is actually moving stuff around. But what I think is really fascinating is the concept of subconscious psychokinesis.
Oh yeah.
Which is essentially where somebody is acting as an agent, so when they're around, this activity is happening. A lot of times it is a teenage or young adult girl who has psychokinetic abilities that they don't know about. And if they're having a lot of stress or something crazy is happening in their life, it starts to kind of come up and crazy things happen around them, but they're equally as scared as the rest of the people,
right?
Because they don't know what's going on. So I'm kind of into this theory because even though we don't have a young woman, we do have Charles, the grandson that's living with them. And when the police and everybody were there and Charles was away, nothing happened. But when Charles was in the house was when stuff kind of started going crazy. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute. So eventually they decided that, this is bullshit. A ghost isn't going to make us leave our house. And Ed told the newspaper, we just don't believe in ghosts. When something is done, humans have to do it. So instead of looking at the supernatural, he was looking for normal reasons for what was happening. And he actually ended up thinking that it was the ongoing Cold War between the United States and the Soviet Union, and it had something to do with nuclear weapons testing. which I think is fascinating.
We did do some of that kind of stuff.
I mean, there were like nuclear missiles, I'm pretty sure, in southern Arkansas somewhere. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it was really close to this, but it was happening. Mm-hmm. He said that maybe it was radiation, and that was why stuff was acting kooky and flying around their house.
Matches, though?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know. It's weird.
Radiation makes you like lose your skin and hair and mind and shit.
And
everyone's losing everything, just their mind.
Just going crazy. And he said that he believed it had something to do with rockets and spaceships and bomb tests. And he asked, didn't the papers say that Arkansas got more fallout than any other state? So for some reason, and I didn't think to look at this, but nuclear fallout was like gathering around Arkansas. So he was thinking that it was some kind of radiation stuff. The sheriff actually, wanted to see if there was any validity to this, brought a Geiger counter. Nothing was there. So they decided to look at something that was maybe a little more understandable, and the sheriff actually shows up at the local high school where Charles was going to school and decided to question him. And Charles was being interrogated and eventually admitted that he was the source of what was happening. He said he didn't mean to hurt anybody, and he was sorry for all the trouble he had caused. According to police, Charles started the noises as a prank because his granddad was picking on him. But he didn't mean for it to get out of hand. He just didn't know how to make it stop. So it started with small things. He would bring a pair of pliers to bed and tap his steel bed frame to make noises that would annoy his grandparents. He would rattle window blinds when nobody was looking. He said that he would also sneak into his grandparents' room at night and pull the covers off the bed. But somehow he managed to do all of this without ever being seen by his grandparents, other family members, neighbors. So it's a little suspicious.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
So some people believed that, okay, that's it. It's solved. It was Charles the whole time, just an annoying teenage boy. But some neighbors and locals didn't believe that his confession actually fully explained everything that was happening. Even if he had managed to do some of the things he claimed just like in the dark of night, how did he move stuff in plain sight in front of people? Like the pencil that levitated, the matchbox that levitated.
That doesn't make sense.
The flying corn.
The flying corn!
Who knows?
That's fucking weird. Like,
I don't know. So there was this guy, Charles Albright, who worked for the Arkansas Gazette in Little Rock. And he was really skeptical of Charles's confession. He said anyone who takes comfort in the, quote, confession of the grandson, that he was the one who whipped up all the weird doings in the farmhouse near Mena, either didn't read far enough or can't face the facts. Personally, we're having no part of the confession. He can't make biscuits float through the air any more than we can.
The biscuits!
Our theory is that he took the rap so everybody could just get some peace. If not, what about all the eyewitnesses to the ghostly goings-on? People who didn't even live in the house. Where does this leave him? And I think that's pretty compelling.
No, yeah, it is.
That, okay, the kid he's done with it too. He's annoyed. He's tired of all the bullshit that's been going on. Maybe the granddad actually kind of gently encouraged the grandson to take the blame for it, to get some of the heat off the family, like to get these people from hanging out around their house all the time.
Trespassers.
Yeah, I don't know. If it's a hoax, why are they all lying about it? Why are the neighbors also lying about it and other family members? You would have to have all of these people in on it, right? So that's a little, I'm not buying that one.
Weirdo.
Which kind of leaves us with the poltergeist theory.
You know?
So, if you will recall, they had actually lived in this farmhouse for 15 years. So they've been there a while.
Solid time.
And nothing ever happened until after the grandson moved in with them. He moved in when he was like 11. And then this weird stuff started happening a few years later.
He was 10 when I had my experience, and like, when I talked to someone who knows more about that stuff, they said children tend to carry more energy and like attract more of those things. So
I don't know.
Maybe the kid just didn't know he had that, or didn't really know how to stop that stuff. Knowing that he was doing it just to fuck with them, and then realizing it was something that was beyond him, and he not explained to his grandparents or to anyone else.
Yeah. So
No.
I don't know. I really think that instead of it being just like, oh, farmhouse is haunted, when nothing happened for the 15 years they were there, suddenly boy shows up, weird shit's happening, poltergeist. Not normal ghost, poltergeist. So, poltergeist. Again, all of this stuff seemed to happen when he was in the house. When he was out of the house, nothing happened with sheriffs, with the reporters, any of that. And that is common, as we kind of alluded to earlier in paranormal theory about poltergeist, that there's usually a human agent that's at the center of the case and experiencing turmoil, emotional distress, a lot of which happens around the time they enter into puberty.
It's like fucking hormones, man.
Yeah. So, I don't know. Maybe he was just a weird little kid. There's obviously a reason he was living with his... Good job. Obviously a reason he's living with his grandparents. So, you know, there could have been some family stuff going on that was stressful for him.
True. The pubes made it come out.
Yeah. It's just no good. So, who knows? We're not believing... Is this
farmhouse still around?
No.
Oh, bastards.
Yeah, in my sort of limited research about the farmhouse, the farm site is still there, but I don't believe the house itself is still there, which is kind of a bummer. Kind of a bummer. One final thing to kind of, you know, wrap this whole thing up.
Wrap this whole up.
So the Arkansas Democrat Gazette had been kind of covering this whole story. It comes out that there's this supposed confession from Charles. And I think that this is a pretty powerful statement, especially for an Arkansas newspaper. They said, there's always a chance that a prankster is responsible for weird happenings, as in this case. On the other hand, reputable scientists, neurologists, psychologists, and physicists have investigated cases, and they're of the opinion that psychic energy may be responsible.
Very much. I can get on board with that.
So, I don't know.
Maybe Charles was panicking. He's like, I don't want people to know that I have this stuff, and I don't know how to handle it. But like, I was just pranking you guys. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I was just kidding. So, that's the story of the Mena poltergeist.
Dang, Mena. You alright?
If you live in Mena, have you heard of the Mena poltergeist?
If you know of any other Mena poltergeist that no one's talking about.
Yeah.
Because they're too scared.
Arkansas poltergeist. If you've had a poltergeist,
the AP,
then let us know. We will see you next time. Hopefully it's not as long of a break. We're sorry about that.
It's becoming fall. We'll be better.